Hey everyone, it's Brandon again, and I'm piddling around with a new project. I have many projects going on, and sometimes I record them, sometimes I don't. But today we're going to be working on a hydraulic cylinder on a Isuzu MPR. Actually, it's a Maxon liftgate, but it's on my Isuzu box truck. The problem is when I lift or even lower the gate, my hydraulic cylinder is leaking from around the piston actually. For those of you that are wanting to rebuild your hydraulic cylinder, you will need to find your serial number on the side of your cylinder, and then you want to put that part number in to find your seal kit for your hydraulic cylinder. This is my first time working on a hydraulic cylinder of any kind, and I know if I can do it, you guys can do it as well. I hope this video is educational to you guys. Don't forget to go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. I've always got content going on around the house that I'll be uploading. So hopefully you guys find this helpful and enjoy the video. This is the locking pin for the hydraulic cylinder. I'm going to use the pipe wrench to unthread the locking pin by turning it counterclockwise. This is my first time working on a hydraulic cylinder, and I've seen other people use like pieces of drill bits that were slid down into the hose around this cylinder sleeve, and they'll use those drill bits to gain leverage with the pipe wrench. I thought maybe pulling on the piston that the piston head would come out, but I was wrong. It's best to use a pipe wrench on the piston head and just turn it in either direction as you pull on the piston, and it will break free and come out. Once I got the piston out of the cylinder, I went ahead and put the piston back in its original location on the bracket. That way I would be able to get the nut off the bottom of the piston. I thought using a pipe wrench I could probably break it free, but I was wrong again. So I had to go to the local auto store, and I bought a 1.5 inch socket to go onto the nut and took it off with it. Once I got everything off the piston, I just went ahead and cleaned it up with some brake cleaner. And while I was down there, I went ahead and took off the plastic O-ring that's at the bottom of the piston where the threads are located. Once I got the plastic O-ring off, I went ahead and put the new plastic O-ring on. I greased it up while I was there. That way, once we put the piston foot on there, it would go up on there nice and easy. I'm going to call this the head and foot piston. We're going to go ahead and start with the foot piston first. I'm gonna go ahead and clean the foot piston. Make sure you get a good look at the order the seals are in. That way you don't make any mistakes when putting the new ones in. While cleaning each component, you want to make sure there's no protrusions or abrasions that are deep enough that it's going to cause an issue with the seal and the cylinder. The blue seal was actually easy to take off, and the new one was easy going back in its place. The orange seal was pretty tough getting off, so if you use any tools or knives, make sure that you don't scratch up the piston head or the piston foot when you're doing this and working with tools around it. Any seals that you take off the piston head or piston foot, make sure that there are no deep scratches or anything like that around it and everything looks really good before you put the new seals on. Now I'm going to work on the piston head. I'm going to go ahead and clean it off, and then once I take the seals, the old seals out, then I'll clean it again. At the upper portion of the piston head, there was some corrosion and rust. So I went ahead and sanded it down lightly. That way, when we go to put everything back together, it's going to fit nice and smoothly. This is the dust ring on top of the piston head. I'm going to go ahead and get it pulled out of here and get everything cleaned up. Now it's time to remove the hydraulic oil seal and get everything cleaned up on it. I'm gonna go ahead and get this cylinder head cleaned up and check for any deep cuts or abrasions or anything that's going to cause this hydraulic cylinder to fail. This is the new hydraulic oil seal that goes in the center of the piston head. I ended up having to put a little bit of grease on it to help get it down in there, and still had an issue with trying to get it forced in there the right way. So I used a screwdriver and pushed the center of the rings together, and then I put one end in first, and then I bent the other opposite end and stuck it down in there. And once I let go of the two pieces that I pushed together, it snaps back in place. This is the dust seal that goes on top of the cylinder head or the piston head. And I went ahead and put some grease on it as well, but it really didn't need it because it was easy to get in. Just make sure that your beveled end is pointing outward or upward from your piston head. That way you know it's put in correctly. Always take a picture of your piston head and your piston foot and the seals on it. That way you know you get them in the right order. This flat rubber washer seal, it has a beveled end all the way around it. Just make sure that when you put that down that the bevel end is facing up towards you, and you put that rubber O-ring that's in my left hand over top of it. It doesn't hurt to go ahead and put a little bit of grease around all this. That way when you're ready to put this into the cylinder, it's ready to go and you're not going to have no issues getting it in there. Go ahead and grease the bottom portion of this piston. That way we can go ahead and put that cylinder head or the piston head back up onto the piston, and we shouldn't have no issues getting it on there. When you go to put the piston foot on, remember you have a plastic O-ring there right above the threads. So it's going to be a little bit tough getting that piece on. So it's best to just put one hand on each side of the disc portion of the piston foot. And then just give it a little wiggle and a push, and it should go up on there pretty good. We're going to go ahead and get that nut put back on. Get it tightened down. I did not torque it. I'm sure it needs to be torqued, but I don't have a torque wrench, so I'm just using my own judgment on this and getting it about as tight as what I thought it was, taking it off. Now it's time to clean the actual cylinder itself. This is brake cleaner that I'm spraying in it, going in and getting all the old oil washed out of it. I noticed there's some rust and some corrosion right around the tip, right around the first inch going into the wall of the cylinder. So I'm going to get all of it cleaned out, and then I'll just lightly sand around the cylinder what bit that I need to sand on it. Make sure to inspect your cylinder. Make sure there's no deep protrusions or big scratches that are in the cylinder, because this will cause the hydraulic cylinder to fail. I went ahead and greased the outside of the piston head before I pushed it on up into the cylinder. I inserted my locking pin in the side of the cylinder. Use your pipe wrench to turn the piston head clockwise until you no longer see the locking pin on the outside of the cylinder, and you're finished. This is my first time working on a hydraulic cylinder, and I know if I can do it, you guys can do it. So I hope this video was good enough to where you guys feel confident enough to be able to rebuild your own cylinder. If you like working on your own projects, then I may have some more content that you guys may be interested in. So please subscribe to the channel and like this video. See you guys in the next one.